Right, my big job today was to get the centre stand off the bike because it was behaving really weirdly. It was kind of loose at times, and I thought maybe the spring had just given up the ghost. And it was also stiff, so it was difficult. It was like loose but difficult to move, and also becoming difficult to get it on and off the bike because always before it just really freely and easily, you just stand up on the actual foot piece, and over it would go. It was a really nice smooth movement, but it was becoming really difficult, and I thought, well, I'll just get it off and give it all a clean. But having got this off and looked at it, and I didn't need to get it off to determine this, by the way, I just saw it when I went under there. This is not going back on, this needs replacing, because you have got a massive rust hole right there, and it pretty much split all the way to there, and you've just got this tiny slither of metal holding it together. So I think that would have been a situation where it would have either just sheared through at some point, either putting it on the stand, or a stiff wind would have blown this bike over. Well, I wasn't expecting that at all. I just thought it was going to need a bit of a clean, but there you go. Well, a couple of weeks has gone by, and I've got a new stand, which I had to order from a guy in France, and so yeah, not too far away geographically, but across the water, another country. And I looked on eBay, and there was about a dozen or so centre stands for this bike. And just a little tip to sellers on eBay: don't sell crap that other people are chucking away because it's rusted through. It's a rip-off. So anyhow, not the chap I bought this stand off, because so I looked at a whole bunch of these stands, and they were just exactly the same as the one I just pulled off and pulled apart in my hands. Selling those sorts of quality, dangerous, for 50, 60 quid. Ridiculous. Anyway, found one in France, contacted the guy and said, aside from surface rust, has it got any other structural rust anywhere? No, perfect condition, he said, in French. And I bought it, it's arrived, and he's a man of his word. It was in really good, top-notch condition. So let's go and take a look, and let's get it swapped over. Okay, this might look a little different, but then it's in two pieces, but I've compared the two. They're exactly the same, there's no issues. This one is in perfect nick. I don't think it's had a lot of use, because you can see the actual what do we call that, knurling on the foot pad, if you like, is not worn away at all. This one didn't come with a spring, so I'll need to just give, I've soaked this in parts washer, just need to give it a bit of a brush up and then grease it up before it goes back on. The bolts I've cleaned up. They'll go back on. I'm going to reuse the these are actually lock nuts, but they're metal lock nuts, so I can reuse those. They're not nylock or anything like that. The only other thing I will need to do is just swap over this rubber bung. I think it's rubber. Feels like rubbery. You could sort of get a new one of those. They're probably made of like Delrin or something like that. Anyway, I'm going to pull that one out. Slight variance in design because this one seems to have a little slot that it sort of comes out of. Whereas this one is just a hole, but it should fit okay. Anyway, it's just a rubber stopper for, you know, when the stand clunks up, so it doesn't sort of keep smacking the bike and making a noise. Right, so the mounting bolts, they are shouldered, and they go through from the inside like that, like so, and then they also shoulder on the frame, on the bracket on the frame on the bike. So these are pretty much a really good slip fit, which means there's really no wiggle room. So you've got microns, really, probably a couple of 100 microns of clearance. So if you try and put the stand on the bike by connecting the spring first, you are going to be pulling against a very taut spring to try and get that aligned, and that's incredibly difficult. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and fix the stand onto the bike first, and then we're going to pull the spring on second. So let's get and do that. A lot easier to line up without the spring on, but it does of course mean getting the spring on is going to be quite tricky. Okay. Reusing the old metal lock nuts, I think I might have mentioned that already. When I say metal, of course, obviously the nut's metal, but the locking mechanism, unlike the sort of modern nylon versions, is like a metal part in itself. And you can reuse these. But you could replace them with nylock if you wanted. Anyway, 22mm, 17mm. I'm just going to get a spanner on the back of that. And I'm just going to get my ratchet ring spanner on the other side. And get it in there. Yep, that's good. Good. Because of the shoulder, of course, the bolt comes through here and the shoulder's pressing against this part, so there's no clamping of these two bits. You can see it's free to move no matter how tight. But now how much you tighten it up. I'll probably go around the other side and do this, but and the bike's leaning that way, so it's a bit harder to get on. Okay, that should do that. All good. Okay, so now what we need to do is connect this little loop here, if you can see it, to this little loop here, if you can see it, and hopefully I can just get in there with a mini pry bar, also known as a screwdriver. I have cleaned the spring up, so you can see it's quite, yeah, it's got to move a good couple of centimetres. I don't know whether to do it that way or that way. Oh. It's easier, to be fair. Maybe that way. Yeah. Okay. Let me get a suitable screwdriver that's strong enough. And whether a Phillips or a flat blade will be better. Let's give each a try. Right. Probably going to end in calamity. Yeah, it's getting a movement on it. It's just sliding down rather than anything on anything. See, this wasn't a how-to. Just... yeah, there's no wiggle room to do that. Right. Just need to pull it that little bit. I've tied up the stand so it's not flopping around, but just I need to pull it probably a centimetre. It's just getting hold of it. Yeah, well, getting a pull on it. So we weld it there. plan B, or probably F or something. Yeah, sounds about right. We do need to just longulate this by about 1 centimetre. It's currently standing 10 centimetres proud of the vise at the moment, so too thick. Don't want these going flying out all over the place. Just trying to find the thinnest needle files I've got. Just to yeah, that's it. One goes in, one falls out. Well, my needle files fell out and the washers seem to do a little better. I just had to reposition them though, so right, I don't know if you can see this, but I got about 12, 14 washers in there, relatively easy to place in with pipe grips, and essentially what it did is it opened it up enough that the two ends just sort of slipped over, only just, which means it's holding it all in place while I pull all the washers back out. But that is by far and away the simplest method for a centre stand double spring where you just can't get in there with any pry bars or anything like that. There's lots of methods, you know, so you can, you know, try the screwdriver lever, you can try pulling it with a nylon cord, but if you haven't got the reach or the pull or the leverage, depending on the position of it, it's just not going to happen. This way is pretty universal, I'd say. So definitely the only method that I've found that's worked for me on this particular install. Anyway, I'm going to go and pull all those washers out, and then I'm going to get this centre stand torqued up. Not that I know it's got a torque spec or anything like that, but I'm just going to give them a good tighten up. Right, that's that job done. $17 in the end, and the beauty of washers is that they easily hook out. Well, near disaster averted on the Fazer. Glad I got down there and checked that anyway before the bike came off the stand and ended up in a pile on the floor. So a couple more jobs to do on the Fazer. I've got to do a oil change and oil filter change, and change the sprockets before the MOT next month. I won't be filming any of that because I've already got some of those videos on this channel anyway. I'm just waiting on some parts for the VF750F engine, and we can crack on with that in the next video. But until then, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. I will get back to you, and I'll see you next time.